I never imagined my life could change so drastically in such a short span of time. One day I was in Ukraine, hiding in the basement of my family home while bombs rattled the windows above me. The next, I was stepping off a plane into the sweltering heat of the Philippines, a country I had never once considered living in. Everything in between felt like a blur of chaos, fear, heartbreak, and desperate survival. But what I found in the Philippines, after running from war, was something I never expected. Not just safety, but a chance to live again. Growing up in Ukraine, life was simple. I remember cold winters when we huddled around the kitchen table eating bowls of hot borscht. Summers were filled with neighborhood children playing soccer in the streets until the sun went down. Family was close, neighbors were familiar, and even though times weren't always easy, there was a sense of stability, of belonging. That all disappeared the moment the war started. The first night I heard explosions. I thought they were fireworks. But the sound was too heavy, too violent. The windows of my building rattled, the ground vibrated beneath me, and fear sank into my chest like ice. Sirens blared through the city, and in an instant, the streets I had walked every day became deserted. The laughter of children was replaced by silence, broken only by distant booms. My world collapsed almost overnight. I packed quickly, not knowing if I'd ever return. A small bag, some documents, a change of clothes, and a single photograph of my family. That was all I could carry. I left behind my home, my books, my memories, everything that once defined me. Walking away from it all felt like tearing out a piece of my heart. The journey out of Ukraine was chaos. Train stations overflowed with people. Mothers clutched their children tightly. Fathers tried to hide their fear. The air was thick with crying, shouting, and the screech of trains coming and going. Everyone carried the same expression: desperation. Some didn't know where they were going, only that they had to keep moving. I was one of them. When I crossed into Europe, I thought I would feel relief. And in a way, I did. There were no bombs overhead, no sirens screaming through the night. But peace never really reached me. Even in calm streets, my mind carried the war with me. I ate different food, heard unfamiliar languages, but nothing felt like home. Every quiet night reminded me of the chaos I had escaped, and I wondered if I would ever feel whole again. Then one evening, while scrolling through my phone, I came across stories of people traveling to the Philippines. It wasn't somewhere I had ever dreamed about, but something about it caught my attention. Maybe it was the thought of starting completely fresh, somewhere far away from the shadow of war. Maybe it was pure instinct. Whatever it was, I felt a pull I couldn't explain. Within days, I booked a one-way ticket. I had no plan, no connections, no expectations, only hope. When I stepped off the plane in Manila, the first thing that hit me was the heat, a wall of humidity that clung to my skin. The city was alive with sounds, jeepneys honking, vendors calling out, music blasting from tiny shops. It was chaotic, but it was a different kind of chaos. Not the kind that made you afraid, but the kind that reminded you life was still moving. And then there were the people. I expected to be invisible, just another foreigner lost in the crowd. But instead, strangers smiled at me. Taxi drivers cracked jokes as if we were old friends. Vendors offered me food I couldn't even name. Children waved and laughed as they ran past. In those small moments, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt human again. Life here was so different. Back in Ukraine, every day had grown heavy with worry. Here, even the simplest things felt light. I woke up to the sound of roosters instead of sirens. I walked down streets filled with laughter instead of fear. The air smelled of grilled street food, while karaoke music echoed from houses at night. Neighbors greeted each other with genuine warmth. It felt as though the weight I carried in my chest had started to lift. I found a small apartment near the sea. The first time I stood at the shore and saw the endless blue stretching into the horizon, I felt something inside me break open. When the waves touched my feet, it was as if the ocean itself was washing away the pain I had carried for so long. For the first time since the war began, I felt free. Food was another surprise. In Ukraine, meals were heavy, often centered on bread, potatoes, and meat. In the Philippines, I was introduced to flavors I never imagined. Adobo simmered in soy and vinegar, crispy lechon, halo packed with ice and colorful sweets, mangoes so ripe they melted in my mouth. But food here wasn't just about eating, it was about sharing. Families invited me to their tables. Neighbors offered me dishes with a smile, as if I were already part of their family. That warmth filled a space inside me that had been empty since the war. I began to notice something else, too. Many people here didn't have much. Small homes made of wood and tin, long hours of work to provide for their families. And yet there was joy everywhere. Fishermen sang as they pushed their boats into the sea. Children ran barefoot through the streets, their laughter louder than any hardship they faced. Families crowded into small living rooms, sharing one meal and endless laughter. I had left a country where even those with much were weighed down by fear, and I had entered a country where even those with little carried their lives with joy. It was humbling. It was inspiring. The kindness of strangers never stopped surprising me. One time I got lost in Manila, wandering through streets I didn't recognize. A tricycle driver noticed my confusion. Not only did he give me directions, but when I tried to pay him for the ride, he refused and simply said, "Welcome to the Philippines." That small act of humanity stayed with me. Back in Europe, life felt transactional. Money first, help second. Here, people gave without expecting anything in return. Slowly, I began to learn the language. Simple words at first. Salamat for thank you. Mabuhay for welcome. Each new word I spoke brought smiles from the people around me. They corrected my mistakes gently, laughing not at me but with me, as though they were inviting me to be one of them. Traveling through the islands opened my eyes even more. From the cool mountains of Baguio to the white sands of Palawan, from the bustling streets of Cebu to the quiet fishing villages along the coast, each place carried its own charm. Yet everywhere I went, one thing remained the same: the warmth of the people. No matter where I traveled, there was always someone ready to share a story, a smile, or even a meal. The Philippines didn't just give me safety, it gave me healing. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to see beauty again after the storm. Here, I found that beauty in sunsets that painted the sky with fire, in jeepneys decorated like moving art, in the laughter of children echoing across rice fields. I stopped feeling like a refugee. I started feeling like a person again, a person who could smile, who could plan for tomorrow, who could dream without guilt. Of course, there are days when my heart aches for Ukraine. I think of the faces I left behind, the streets I once walked, the home that may never be mine again. The memories still hurt, and they probably always will. But here, I learned something important. Peace isn't just the absence of bombs. Peace is neighbors who treat you like family. Peace is strangers who go out of their way to help you, even when they have little themselves. Peace is finding laughter in the middle of hardship and hope in the middle of loss. Escaping the war in Ukraine was the hardest thing I have ever done. Moving to the Philippines was the most unexpected choice of my life. But it turned out to be the best one. Because here, I didn't just survive, I started living again. And that is something I will never take for granted. Sometimes the places we never planned to go are the ones we were meant to find all along.